This thing goes down 1,000 feet. And I'm gonna show you what it looks like down there on the working levels of the Mollie Kathleen mine. So let's get into it. Now, so come on, let's go. Gonna go down 1,000 feet. Oh wait, we're going up. What's going on? See the safety apron up above, keep the rocks off of our head. There's the timber dogs on the side in case the cable breaks. Thank you. You see the hanging bolts and the different sets all the way down. In the spring of 1891, Mollie Kathleen's son Perry arrived in the Cripple Creek area employed as a surveyor, and in September of that year, 1891, Perry, while surveying Upper Poverty Gulch, saw a huge herd of elk. Later he told his mother, Mollie, of the herd, so she headed out to see for herself. As she made her way up Poverty Gulch, 300 yards past Cripple Creek's first gold strike by Bob Womack at the Gold King mine, Mollie decided to take a break. As she was looking around, something caught her eye. Mollie noticed an interesting looking rock formation. Using a rock hammer to break off a sample, she could hardly believe her eyes. The outcropping was almost entirely laced with gold. With her heart racing, Mollie hid all of her gold samples in her clothing because she knew there was numerous prospectors in the area. Luckily for her, Bob Womack never checked the area she was at in the dozen years he spent up there looking in Poverty Gulch. By her determined act alone, Mollie Kathleen Gold became the first woman in the gold camp of Cripple Creek to discover gold and strike a claim in her own name. This was clearly a bold move out of step with the times. Most men of the time only named their horses, jackasses, and mines after their women. It was very uncommon to let a woman claim anything of such value. It looks pretty good. It says rotten. I like that.
What anybody was saying. So a man in the district from Victor solved the problem. We are guys.
Hey, Mark.
How's it going?
Pretty good, and you?
You know, hanging in there. They are all the time. All the time. But there's some interesting things. Have any of you guys been in a gold mine before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it this one?
Yes, a long time ago.
The miners would drill holes in the rock by hand using hand tools. So a single jacker was one miner, one sledgehammer called a single jack, and one drill steel. It's kind of like a chisel. And what they do is they get a hole started and they pound it and turn it and pound it and turn it much harder than I just did until that hole is this deep in the rock. Then they have a series of longer and longer drill steels to go further and further into the rock. So you've got a guy with a 6-foot-long drill steel on his shoulder, he's kneeling down there, and then this guy behind him with a big giant sledgehammer pounding away. They had to be really, really good and of course very trusting because, well, they're switching roles every 15 minutes or so, and if you did accidentally hit your partner, in a few minutes he's going to get the hammer, right? So they were given 3 candles a day, and they had to make those candles last their entire shift. And I've even heard stories of these single jack miners, this guy working by himself. Once he would get a hole started, get a rhythm going with the pounding, then they would just blow their candle out and they would hammer away in total darkness. And then they came up with the carbide lamps, so these were a lot better. There's carbide crystals in the bottom, water in the top, drip that water into the crystal, and then that created a settling gas, and then you light that. A little flame coming out about right here. They use these in the mines for a really long time, so it was a really efficient light source for the guys down here. This guy here, he's a mucker. He gets paid $3 a day to shovel rock. And this is a high-paying mining district back then. But he had to be really, really fast. He had to fill 2 of these 1-ton ore cars in an hour or he got fired. And there's a whole line of guys on the surface waiting to take his job if he's too slow. But if they were smart, they'd put these metal plates called muck plates on the ground before the blast, and then It was easier to shovel off of the metal as opposed to the bare ground. And one of the guys that came into the district early on, he got fired from 2 mines in 2 weeks because he wasn't fast enough. The guy's name was Jack Dempsey. This is a mucking machine, and using this it takes only a few minutes to fill one of these ore carts. By 1930, almost every mine, no matter how big or small it was, had one of these machines. In 1910, with the power machinery coming down here, this is a drifter drill. It's also called a column drill, and it's also called a liner drill. It only has 3 drill steels, 2 feet, 4 feet, and 6 feet long. Now this pattern that they're drilling is very specific. Each of these is a 6-foot hole with 5 or 6 sticks of dynamite, except for this one right here in the center. They call it the reliever. They leave that one empty because when the rock first blasts, it needs somewhere to go in order to break apart properly. And the fuses are kind of different lengths so that each section of rock will blast at a different time in a sequence about 1 second apart. So the first section to blast is this 5-hole burn here, then the box would go, then the knees and the ribs would blast, then the back would go, and then these 3 down here were the last to blast. They are very important. They're called the lifters. And those holes are drilled at an angle down about 30 degrees. So when everything else blasts, boom, 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 they blast last and they lift the rock out of the hole and onto those metal muck plates out here. At the end of the blast, your hole was 6 feet deep, 5 or 6 feet wide, 6 or 7 feet tall, but all the rock you just blasted is out here. So that makes it easier to muck it out, and it also allowed drillers to start drilling while they're still mucking from the last round. And they were just trying to make it as quick and as efficient as they could be. In 1940, the miners' lives got a lot easier with this jackleg drill. They still use it in underground mining today, and it only takes 1 drill steel, 6 feet long, right from the start. And then it has this adjustable leg, the jackleg, has air going through it. So now that hole takes about 2 minutes to drill 6 feet. And moving it to the next hole, though, is really the real time saver because it only, I would say it weighs 120 pounds. And so that miner can drill the hole, pull it out, adjust the leg, set it, and then start drilling that next hole almost immediately. And it's just as loud as that other one over there, but where that other one, that drifter drill takes about 6 hours or so to drill all of those holes in the pattern, this takes 2 hours or less. So a lot faster. This is a detonation cord. It burns really fast. It burns at over 2,000 feet a second. But they always put a regular fuse here right at the beginning because they wanted to give themselves 2 to 3 minutes to get out of here before that first blast happened. They would go back to the shaft, or they go down a long tunnel and around a corner somewhere. And the holes are not filled completely with dynamite. There's only one little primer stick of dynamite here pushed away in the back of each hole. The rest of the explosive is sprayed in using an air gun like this. And the mixture they're spraying in is what they call prill, but it's actually ANFO. It's ammonium nitrate and diesel fuel mixed together. So it's more stable than dynamite and much more powerful than dynamite too. Now, these tunnels all have different names based on what they do and where they go. I'll talk about a few of them here. So, well, we came down the shaft, of course. This we just walked through here. This is called a crosscut. And crosscuts were kind of like the highways of the underground tunnels, getting from a shaft to a vein of gold, or from one shaft to another shaft, for instance. They made them as straight as they could. And as they're blasting these crosscuts, they are not really expecting to find any gold. They're getting to the gold. They already know where the gold is most of the time. But if they did hit some on the way through, that's a bonus. And it did happen occasionally. Now, if there was more of a horizontal vein of gold going through the rock, those tunnels that follow those veins are called drifts. And I think of it as drifting through the rock after the vein. But in this district, most of the veins are vertical in nature. They're going up and down. And so those tunnels that follow those veins are called stopes, S-T-O-P-E. And we'll show you a couple as we go along here. And there were some huge stopes in the district. Now, the mountain in the heyday, 1890s, early 1900s, had over 500 mines on it with shafts and tunnels. Every tunnel underneath the mountain is all connected together, kind of like a big giant anthill under here. And they did it on purpose for a couple of reasons. One was for safety, so if something happened in one part of a mine, they could get out somewhere else. And then also for the airflow. Do you guys feel the air coming through here? Yeah, it's all fresh air from the surface. It comes down certain shafts, goes through the tunnels, goes out other shafts. It's constantly circulating fresh air down here. You just want to go up to that platform there and look up. And hold on to those hats when you're looking up, okay? It's pretty cool. And dangerous at times because they're always in their own way, the deeper they got. So what they found was faster and safer was to sink a shaft beside the vein, and then every 100 feet down do a crosscut tunnel to the vein. This is purple fluorite. It's the most common mineral that gold attached to here. And in with the fluorite here are very tiny and even microscopic particles of gold. And by using heat and crushing and chemicals, they can separate the gold off of the fluorite. Iron pyrite, fool's gold. In this district, real gold attaches to the fool's gold. But the highest grade ores, the really valuable stuff, is called calaverite and sylvanite. They're telluride ores, and it's like silver aluminum foil streaks going through the rock. People with no idea about mining or geology or anything were picking up shiny rocks and becoming millionaires. And it did happen often here. So if you take a look where my light is here, see this little soda straw hanging down here? And look, that's not gold, but it's cool. Look right behind it, you see the purple. Right there. And then there's purple by the hole down there. And then if you come above it, you see that sparkle. And then there's purple with sparkles right there. And if you follow the sparkles up here, there's a dark streak of the purple right there. And that's what's left of the vein here in this race. And we can take turns doing that and look down that tunnel. It's pretty amazing. It's really cool. These are a couple of examples of the stoper drills. So you can imagine those guys on those platforms, sometimes 100 feet in the air, drilling up. This is the original version. It's called a wiggle tail. And it had a couple of big problems. The first one was, as they're drilling up, it only pounded up, it didn't turn. So the miner had to wiggle it like this while they're drilling, while they're up there high. That's pretty dangerous. But the worst part about this drill, and why they called it the Widowmaker, is because as they're drilling up, all of that granite dust is coming down. If they're breathing it, it's like little shards of glass cutting apart their lungs. It's a condition called silicosis, or rock lung. And yes, miners did die pretty young because of using this drill. But unfortunately, they didn't know what was going on. They didn't think about mask or anything. And they used this drill for almost 10 years before they figured out it was causing the silicosis. All right, it's pretty cool. It has this little stinger leg on the bottom. Pushes it up. That guy up there, he's the stope rat. He's the highest paid miner. He gets paid $4 a day because it's so dangerous. Now, they also had children working in the mines, 8 to 12 years old. And those kids got paid 50 cents a day to run errands for the miners. And one of the things they would do early on was the miner would be setting his staging area up there, but that big drill would be down here. And so he would throw a rope down, and then those kids would tie that rope to the drill. And then I think his name's Superman, because he'd have to pull that drill all the way up to where they were working. But once the air power came down here, they could build these troughs and have cables and pulleys and let these little tug lines work for them and use that air to pull the equipment up. So that was obviously much better. So come on over and find a seat. Anybody need the restroom? The mine shut down as being a producing gold mine. And the reason was there was only a few mines operating in the district and one mill, and just economically there just wasn't enough work for anybody. And so they shut down, but the Mollie Kathleen have been doing tours off and on since the 1940s. And so in 1961 they said, all right, full-time tours. And one of the original tour routes where the people walked came along the drift here, through the tool room where we are, and down the crosscut. Just like this little short tour, about 25, 30 minutes. This crosscut had been here for a really long time. It goes from the Mollie Kathleen mine to the Black Diamond mine, which is about 1,800 feet to the north in a straight shot. And so that rock wall was right here. Now in 1971, the mine owners decided, hey, let's expand the tour. Let's make it bigger, longer, catch some other features of the mine. So from 1891 to 1971, they'd gone by it maybe hundreds of times on this crosscut here and didn't know that this vein was 10 feet away. But there really wasn't any place to process the ore here, and they were expanding their tour, so they just left the vein here as part of the tour. All right, come on in if you like rocks.
Yes, I
It's a
do.
good place to be. Right rocks. Well, we're in a rock, I guess.
Nice.
So, unfortunately, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about a lot of this stuff in here because there's just so much information. Naturally occurring formation here. That's just a little model. It's right next to it. See this nice piece of rock with silver going through it? That's a piece of the calaverite. And it doesn't look like gold. But if you heat that rock up to over 1,800 degrees, the tellurium will burn off and the gold is what's left. This is the iron pyrite variety. So whatever has sparkles is the fool's gold. And remember, in this district, the real gold attaches to the fool's gold. And if you can find a good piece of it, it'll have little cubes. The pyrite will form little cubes. And if you can see that, it's a pretty decent piece. Yeah.
Oh, cool, a tugger. An old skip bucket.
Well, yeah, we don't have any kids on the tour.
Nice. Chivalry still intact.
Oh,
Nice. There's a
So
windlass.
this was the original Mollie Kathleen vein. So in 1891, Mollie Kathleen Gold was sitting on a rock outcropping 1,000 feet above us. She picked up a piece of quartz that had some free gold in it, and this was the vein of gold that came down from that rock outcropping. Now they've stoped it out, they've cleaned it out pretty much to the surface, but it's a good vein, and they wanted to follow it further, so they did.
Uh-oh.
And it doesn't need to be down there with that crosscut.
Nice. Lunchroom, sweetie.
Yep.
Lunchrooms. Look familiar? All the blowers. Yeah, we did a big loop. And don't forget, at the end of each month, we give away a brand new Gold Monster 1000 metal detector. And bags of pay dirt from our gold mine, and each one comes with a silver bar. If you want to get involved with that, just look for the little icon at the end of the video that looks something like that. Go ahead and click on it, make a $10 pledge, and you're in like Flynn. And if you want to see more videos about this area, go ahead and click on that video. And I'll see you on the next video.